And welcome to another episode of the Grind Podcast, Videocast, whatever you want to call it. My name is Arnel Alicea from Visionary Business Development, and I am here with
Michelle from Bossibly.
All right. So we actually have a really awesome topic today, one that kind of like hits close to home if you're a parent and like you're about empowerment. So Michelle was reached out to by by somebody that she knows, and we'll get to that in just a second. We've talked a little bit about employee disengagement and what the cost might be. Now we're going to kind of flip it around and we're going to say, okay, from an administrative standpoint, if you work for a disengaged company, right, how do we actually use the tools around us and turn that into an item of empowerment? So Michelle, we're going to flip up this format a little bit today. Usually it's me barreling you over with a ton of questions, but I'd love for you to take the lead and kind of describe a little bit and set the scene on who we're talking about, who you were talking to, and what are the main points here.
Awesome. Thank you, Arnel. So I actually am pretty active in LinkedIn. So I share a ton of stuff on leadership, communication, empowerment, you name it. What happened, I think it was a week or two ago, where I received an email as a result of one of those posts. And that email was talking about leadership disengagement. And this was specifically from a teacher. So, some of the terms that I'm going to use the actual terms that she used, which was, the group of teachers that are, they're women, they're mothers, they're sisters, caretakers, leaders, also teachers in this organization, in this institution, and they feel like they're floating to nowhere on a sinking ship. Man, that's terrifying. It's awful.
Right.
And the way the visual that I got was the Titanic, right? So hopefully it's not quite that bad. But she went on to say that this group of them feel like the administration is apathetic and not engaged at all. That there's no empathy or action or involvement during this time. That now, and I have had a series of conversations that it's even more important right now for leaders, our managers, to step up and reach out so that people feel more loved, feel more cared for, feel more empathy, because this is difficult for all of us.
Right.
That's setting the stage right now.
Right. So I think that it's, this person being a teacher and the administration being in the position, putting them in the position that they are, like inevitably that is, doesn't really trickle down. It maybe trickle down, right? But it really affects the parents, right, and the students that are then being served. So I actually was able to look up some statistics from a Brevard Public School survey, and they were able to post some key findings from that survey, where parents are juggling a lot at home. 69% have one or both parents working from home while overseeing remote instruction. Now, this is kind of key because nearly 1/3 of parents share a computer needed for remote work with a student who needs the same device for instruction. I don't really even know how that works. So somebody's getting their work done during the day, someone's getting their work done at night. Right. Do they trade off hour over hour? And as a result of this whole pandemic, nearly 1/3 have lost a job or significant income. Right. So things are tough already on the parenting side, right? And so to have an administration that seems to be very apathetic or disengaged to that scenario and is kind of like trying to stumble over the status quo for whatever their reasons are, inevitably it affects the leadership in the classroom, which is the teachers.
Yeah. So and imagine, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but I didn't want to forget this. I imagine that those teachers are dealing with the same scenario, right? So not only are they trying to teach their students in a new way, right? But they're also most likely working with their significant other. They are teaching their own kids, right? So they have probably double the load, and then they have an administration or institution that's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't. You just do what you can do, or
Right.
they're just checking the box.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought to think about, like the potential from the administrative point of view, like, operational paralysis is what it's known, is the term that's actually used, where things are happening at such a rapid rate that you just can't adapt, and you have three different defense mechanisms: flight, fight, or freeze, right? So
right.
if the people that fight will have the organizations that get over it. You freeze, you're just you almost seem like apathetic to the entire thing. And if you run, well, I mean, obviously the whole thing burns down to the ground. But enough with the bad news. Michelle, give me the good news. How do I turn the tide?
So I think, I'm actually reading this book, which is pretty interesting. I don't know. So some folks may not care for it, but it's What Men Don't Tell Women About Business. And there's some stuff I like and some stuff I don't like, but this is directly tied to the question that this particular gal, this group of women that are mothers, sisters, caretakers, teachers, etc., and their potential strategy to help them feel empowered. So this author, which is Christopher Flett, if I'm saying that right, Flett, had a bunch of items, but these are the three that I pulled out that I thought was really good, that I thought were the most impactful here. So number one, if I don't like the rules, change them. So, if you're seeing stuff that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, then, in my mind, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission to get what you need and just make it happen.
Yeah,
so that's part of what leadership is. So that's the first one.
That could be a little bit difficult from when you deal with like such a like a governmental system, right? So what else is in that book that they could use?
So the second one would be ask for what you want. So what is happening? If you're looking for empathy, if you're looking for action, if you're looking for involvement, what does that mean? How do you get that? Can you make some recommendations? Can you go as a group and or even have a point person to say, look, we are looking for ABC, XYZ. This is how we could use some support. This is what we would like you to do. Sometimes managers and leaders are just clueless. They shouldn't be. Yeah. And sometimes they're not even asking the right questions, but there's nothing wrong with us asking for what we want and need. So that would be the second one.
Right. Absolutely. So, it's interesting because there's there's an ask portion of it. Like I tend to ask for a lot, right? Now, like I'll go out and I'll say, hey, can you help me do this thing that's going to benefit us both, right? But then I also find that I have to do some manner of facilitation, because if the person doesn't have necessarily a fire lit under their ass, so to speak, then I find myself waiting like weeks for things to happen. Is there anything around any kind of like advice that you could give about like not only just asking but also taking action?
Well, and I think that comes into the idea of leaders. So I had put out a poll, do you assume leadership or do you ask for it, right? So and in that particular case, you could enact some of the things that you feel that you are within your realm of responsibility. Let's use the empathy, right? Why? So there's nothing that would prevent this group of teachers from creating their own support group, support group for empathy. They just get together once a week or every 2 weeks, whatever their schedule allows, to have a conversation of what's getting in their way and how they can help one another. Yeah. That wouldn't require asking for assistance. They could just take action and support one another in that way. Awesome.
That's awesome. So we have to work towards wrapping up. We've got about 25 seconds on the clock here. Give me some last thoughts and then let's do a sign off.
Yeah, the last one, the third item would be prepared to challenge everything I think is unjust to me. So, we don't have to just maintain status quo if we don't think that it's the right thing to do. So challenge it, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
All right. Okay. So this is Arnel from Visionary Business Development. I'm here with Michelle from Bossibly, and that is the Grind Podcast. We are out of time.